I mean, I don't have a family, and I definitely don't have faith. So
You're definitely not part of the solution.
maybe I am.
No, here's the thing.
In this video, Bill Maher engaged in a heated debate with Dr. Phil on Real Time with Bill Maher about family, religion, and their potential role in improving the country. The discussion quickly became intense, with both sides presenting compelling arguments. Dr. Phil asserted that family values and faith serve as essential foundations for a stable society, offering the moral framework needed to address many of America's social challenges. Maher, known for his secular views and critiques of organized religion, countered by questioning whether faith and traditional family structures alone are enough to solve today's issues, advocating instead for a broader systemic approach. At one point, Dr. Phil directly challenged Maher, suggesting that without family and faith he might be missing a part of the solution. This remark resonated with many viewers who saw Dr. Phil's perspective as more grounded. Clips from the exchange quickly went viral, with a significant number of people expressing support for Dr. Phil's stance. If you enjoy thought-provoking debates like this, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss future discussions on the topics that shape our world.
Again, what I think we disagree a lot on is that you think family and faith are a big fix to the problems we have. I mean, I don't have a family, and I definitely don't have faith.
So you're definitely not part of the solution.
Maybe I am.
No, here's the thing. I'm just saying that you come from a family.
I come from one, true.
So don't tell me you don't.
Yes.
Don't tell me you don't have a family.
Well, they're all gone now except my sister, yes.
So you got a sister.
Okay, but I didn't start a new family, is what I'm saying. And I'm an atheist, so I don't have religion. And I think the country's moving in my direction, by the way. More people than ever are single, and more people than ever don't have a religion. Now, you may think that's a bad thing and why we're going to hell in a handcart, but maybe it's also part of the solution. And it's certainly just where people want to be.
Dr. Phil's reaction to Bill Maher's arguments reflects the frustration many feel toward Maher's stance. Critics argue that Maher appears oblivious to how other countries shape media and public opinion, subtly influencing cultural narratives. They find it baffling that he seems to validate his views simply because they align with prevailing trends, despite a lack of critical examination or willingness to evolve his perspective. Dr. Phil's expression perfectly captures this sentiment. His look conveys a mix of disbelief and frustration, as if he's resisting the urge to call out what many viewers perceive as stubborn ignorance. For those who find Maher's stance lacking depth, Dr. Phil's reaction becomes a visual representation of their collective exasperation, almost a facepalm moment for those who believe there's more to the debate than just agreeing with popular opinion. This dynamic has sparked a strong reaction online, where many viewers feel that Dr. Phil is addressing something fundamental, while Maher is entirely missing the point.
I mean, when you say religion is the fix to this,
I didn't say that.
You've seen the Middle East?
I didn't say that.
Well, yeah, you did in the book.
No, I did not.
What do you say about family and faith, not the fix?
I said that for the first time in our country's history, membership in an organized religion has dropped below 50%. Now, here's why that's a problem. Here's why that's a problem, because that was one of the reasons that families got together at least once a week and spent quality time together. The reason it's dropped below 50% is because the reason they usually joined the church was because they wanted to have their children christened or baptized or whatever the ceremony was in that particular church. And our birth rate has dropped to 1.6. We need 2.1 in order to sustain the infrastructure that we have. So we need immigrants. We just need to know who they are.
Very reasonable position.
I'm very pro-immigration, as are you, right?
Bill Maher, known for his libertarian-leaning, yet often left-leaning critiques, has long positioned himself as a voice of reason. However, his perspective on immigration, at least as perceived by many critics, comes across as dismissive of the operational concerns rather than the ideological ones. Why is this frustrating? Because to many it seems like an unnecessary and avoidable oversight. Instead of addressing legitimate concerns about vetting, border control, and resource allocation, discussions often devolve into whether immigration itself is good or bad, a false dichotomy that ignores the core issue of governance and execution. The frustration expressed in the statement reflects a broader issue with how immigration is discussed in mainstream discourse, particularly by figures like Bill Maher. Many on the right, as well as some moderates, argue that the core concern is not immigration itself, but rather the effectiveness of the systems used to vet and process those entering the country. The problem, in their view, is that discussions often reduce the issue to a binary argument, either supporting or opposing immigration, without acknowledging the nuanced position that emphasizes better enforcement, smarter policies, and a more efficient legal process. This disconnect is particularly frustrating for those who feel the consequences of poor immigration management at a local level, where overwhelmed resources and inadequate enforcement create tangible problems. To many, Maher's approach exemplifies a broader trend in political discourse where legitimate concerns are dismissed or mischaracterized, leading to a cycle of frustration and disengagement from mainstream media discussions. Until commentators recognize the distinction between opposing immigration as a concept and advocating for its responsible management, this disconnect will persist, fueling the sense that many public figures are missing the point entirely.
Yeah, absolutely, and your position that you just said, very reasonable, and a political position. A political stance. But you did say in the book that the less religion we have, the more divorce and cohabitation become acceptable. And why shouldn't they be? Why shouldn't divorce and cohabitation? You sound like the Alabama Supreme Court.
No.
Why shouldn't that be acceptable? It's 2024 to just cohabitate without marriage.
Well, let me answer.
Okay.
The problem is, if you have a child and you have a non-biological male in the home, the incidence of sexual molestation and or abuse for that child goes up as much as 33 times normal. It goes up, depending on what kind of abuse you're talking about, it goes up 6 times normal, 10 times normal, all up and down the continuum.
Okay,
that doesn't happen if there's a biological parent in the home. But no, wait a minute, you can't.
That's a cohabitation. You're conflating two things. You can cohabitate with someone and have children. I mean, the marriage rate in, I think, Sweden is very, very low. They live together as man and wife, but they just don't get married and they have children. That's a biological father in the home. They just don't.
They don't fill out paperwork.
Cohabitation, yeah.
You're saying they don't fill out paperwork.
Correct.
But that's not what happens in a lot of situations that create this problem with a male being inside the home that is not biologically connected to the children, and that is a big issue, Bill. You can't write that off.
The debate between Bill Maher and Dr. Phil encapsulates a broader cultural and ideological divide that continues to shape public discourse. Maher's approach, blending comedy with social critique, has long been a hallmark of his commentary, often challenging traditional norms and questioning the necessity of long-standing societal structures. While his sharp wit and skepticism resonate with secular progressives, critics argue that his approach can sometimes oversimplify or even trivialize deeply complex social issues. In contrast, Dr. Phil's stance is rooted in a more traditional and earnest perspective, emphasizing the importance of faith and family as stabilizing forces in society. This contrast highlights a fundamental disagreement, whether the foundation of a stable society should be built on enduring values, or whether societal evolution necessitates a break from these traditions. At the heart of this debate is a larger question about the role of religion, family, and national identity in shaping a cohesive and functional society. Dr. Phil's argument reflects a belief that these foundational structures are not just personal choices, but essential components for maintaining societal order and well-being. From his perspective, the erosion of these values, whether due to shifting cultural trends, secularization, or the breakdown of family units, represents a dangerous trajectory that could lead to long-term instability. On the other hand, Maher embodies the progressive viewpoint that societal progress comes from questioning and challenging traditional institutions, arguing that rigid adherence to faith and family structures may not be the only path to stability. His confidence in secular and modern trends suggests that he sees societal evolution as a natural and necessary process, one that should not be constrained by outdated traditions. The tension between these two perspectives is not just an academic or theoretical debate. It reflects real concerns that many people have about the direction of modern society. Those who align with Dr. Phil's views worry that the decline of traditional values could result in weaker social bonds, moral ambiguity, and a loss of purpose for individuals and communities. They see Maher's skepticism as indicative of a larger cultural shift that prioritizes individualism and fleeting trends over the collective good. Conversely, those who support Maher's perspective might argue that blind adherence to tradition stifles progress and that societies must adapt to changing times in order to remain functional and inclusive. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for our next video, where we'll bring you more thought-provoking discussions on today's most pressing topics. See you soon. Yo. Bana senin için en shower.